Hi, everyone at home and everyone here. Good to see you this morning. New faces too. um, so today's session, it's a back to school theme. I know SPS starts in a week, but my husband goes back to teaching tomorrow at Missouri State. Starts taking a class at Missouri State, and there's just a vibration for back to school this time of year, and I kind of love it. Last night, Donna and I went to Walmart because we love back to school shopping more than kind of anything, much more than Christmas shopping. It's our favorite thing, back to school. Yep. I buy these 35-cent one subject notebooks, and last night I got 30 of them for $10.50, and I'll use them all year. But I left thinking it's not enough. I need more notebooks because the world's amazing and it deserves copious notes to be taken on it. So let's see. Let's just start with the question, what are you still learning? Probably different than when you were in school, but is there anybody here who's working on learning something? Yeah, very cool. What are you learning?
Oh, I didn't know I
I saw your hand.
Right now I'm learning about a woman's moon cycle or period cycle and the basics of it, nutrition and things like that.
So you're supposed to take in different nutrition at different parts of your cycle. Oh, I did not know that. I'm learning. So how about the rest of you? Anybody else working on learning something? I know LB is. What are you learning, LB?
I'm reading a book on feng shui.
Gotcha. Feng shui. I always think that makes a home more just feel better. Yeah, Don.
First thing I did this morning is go online and ask
Don.
Google. Oh, there we go. All right.
Bossy people are.
First thing I did this morning was I had a question in my head. What is the nationality of a child born on open sea?
And it's the flag of the boat they're under, right?
There's at least 6 different answers to that
Really?
question. And it depends on who you ask.
Huh. Well,
If you're flying over Canada, you can become a Canadian citizen. Some people say if you're aboard a ship, it's wherever the ship was built.
So not the flag of the ship.
Yeah, it's such a, but learning can be such a nebulous thing.
Yeah.
That it's not a question of having a black and white answer.
You're so right about that. Peter's learning something. What are you learning, Peter?
Well, I like to learn about metaphysical things, psychic phenomena, non-local mind. Then I also like to learn about health. Yeah, and non-local mind is really, that's the mechanism through which we're all connected.
Yeah. So that keeps you energized.
I just like learning it. I think I like it more than entertainment.
Yeah. And it is entertaining. You have a thought?
Well, I've been really getting into NDEs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's seems to have a channel for me.
Yeah.
And even understanding metaphysics or anything or who we are, where we're at.
And for you, that's going to involve reading accounts and hearing accounts of people who've had near-death experiences.
This is learning, but actually my process right now is learning how to unlearn all the facts, all the knowledge, this is how it works in the physical world, to begin to say, I'm making all that up. We're making all that up, all the rules, all the things about how it happens, and really learning that my focus, my attention, my intention, so all my learning is about that metaphysical, spiritual journey of I am creating this moment not what I learned about this moment. So I guess that's learning. But it's
Unlearning to learn something
I'm
new.
having to unlearn everything to be able to live from that perspective.
Peter has another
Yeah, I think the most important thing I'm learning about is all the things that aren't really true that we think are true.
You got an example?
Um,
Just putting people on the spot left and right.
well, how the country is run,
Yeah.
how good our food is. You know, I don't think if you really find out about our food, you know, it can be a scary story.
Yeah. Well, I just interviewed a farmer in this church, Michelle Vancruz, yesterday for a story, and she just mentioned the importance of the nutrients in the soil, and so much soil is tapped out and doesn't have the same level of minerals and things like that. Kind of surprised me. Yeah.
I'm learning what my chickens have to teach me.
I didn't even notice you had chickens when I was there. What's something a chicken teaches you?
That's a great question. If you keep them, if you have one little chicken who refuses to stay in the pen and decides to come out in the yard to lay her eggs, then maybe after a while you just let her do that. And she doesn't want to be penned in.
So you get yard eggs, so it's always a surprise. Donna, what are you learning?
So I've had to relearn a lot in the last 2 years after having a stroke. So I had to relearn how to do my job. Swimming right now, I'm relearning how to swim because I used to be every summer swim like a mermaid. And so the stuff that I knew, I've had to reteach. So I've been on a learning journey for the last 2 years.
So with a neurological event, you might have to relearn how to chew your food or things like that. Basic stuff. That's interesting. So, I didn't hear from everybody, but some of us might be learning to be a better parent or a better listener, or how to have hard conversations, how to be alone, how to forgive, how to let go. Maybe you're learning something that you believed for, the past 40 years isn't true, like Wendy was saying. And maybe you're learning a skill, like maybe a language. I do Duolingo. Try to learn Spanish. I'm just terrible. Don't say anything to me in Spanish, but I've done it for about 2 years without missing a day. I might be able to find the bathroom. We'll see. Musical instrument, how to identify birds, how to make sourdough, those kinds of things. I have a friend, Karen Bayline's her name, and I mention her name because she's actually quite a well-regarded nonfiction writer. But one day on Facebook, she posted a drawing. She'd drawn a picture of a tree outside her window, and she's like, "Here's a drawing of a tree." And it's like, well, that's strange. She's not that kind of artist. She's an artist with words like I am, but and she had really endeavored to get perspective and shading and things like that just right. But it wasn't a one-off, because the next day she posted another drawing. This one I think was her coffee cup or teacup. She's a tea drinker with shading and everything. They weren't very good, but they were honest attempts. And the next day, though, there's a flower. And the next day, and for about 1,000 days, she posted her pictures online of what she was trying to draw. And I knew her for years, and she never showed any interest in visual art. But now she's drawing these fabulous landscapes and seascapes, and they're amazing. And the quality of her observation and the way she captures it, it's really surprising. Just because one day she said, "I'm going to learn this," and then she made herself do it. And I kind of love that. We tend to think of education as something that happens when we're young, not like Karen, who was in her 40s when she decided to be an artist, right? A visual artist. We go to school, we learn, and we graduate. But spiritually, I think the opposite is true, that graduation is not the goal, that we're not trying to reach an end point. The goal is becoming more awake, maybe, or more compassionate, more capable of seeing, more curious, more willing to change, becoming more deeply ourselves. In Unity, we have the 12 powers. Not a list of things that we either possess or don't possess, but spiritual capacities we develop and express. If you're watching from home or you're here and maybe you're not familiar with the 12 powers, let's see how many you folks can come up with. Unity. There's faith, shout them out. Strength, understanding, wisdom. Those are two big ones for today. Love, yes. You know some. Strength. Power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, release, and life. I wrote them down so I didn't miss a one. But spiritual life isn't about becoming a finished product, but about becoming a better learner in all these areas that we focus on. For Bible types, the Bible has some surprisingly positive things to say about learning. Surprising to me because I know a lot of Bible types who seem very atrophied and not very interested in learning more than like memorization of verses and things like that. I'm showing my bias. But the Bible says in Proverbs 1:5, let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the discerning acquire skill. So the Bible is all for learning. In Romans, I think it's Romans 12, Paul says we are to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and that's the verse I've heard here. I like that first sentence, let the wise hear and increase in learning. It's talking about the wise, not the dumb, not the ignorant, not the fools out there, not the know-nothings, but the wise. Let the wise learn. If you already know a lot, you should learn more. They should keep learning. Wisdom doesn't mean you've reached a point where you have nothing left to learn. Wisdom means you've learned enough to know that you still have a lot more to learn, right? And Paul, in talking about being transformed by the renewing of your mind, that's not a once renewed mind, that's the renewing, the constantly renewing mind, the mind that remains alive. Like I said at the start, I love this time of year because I'm kind of reminded of this part of me that loves to learn, loves a notebook full of ideas, right? If the universe is infinite, then our understanding of universal mind can't possibly be finished. We can never learn all there is to learn. We can never learn enough. If we believe that divine wisdom is alive in us, why would we ever imagine that we'd reach the end of what could be revealed? And then to get to something that Wendy was talking about, unlearning, there's a danger to thinking, a spiritual danger, to thinking that we just already know stuff. We can get too attached to what we think we know. We can say how many times we've said, oh, I already know that. I know how to do that. Maybe somebody's trying to offer a new take, new perspective on an old idea, right? That could be a pretty dangerous set of words in the spiritual life. I already know that. I know what that person's like. I've been there. I've done that. I know how this is going to turn out. I don't know how many times have you heard people say that? Oh, yeah. I know how this is going to end. Well, they don't because it's unfolding. That wisdom is useful because you probably strongly suspect how it's going to end up, and you might be right, but learners, keep your eyes open and pay attention. You have a thought, John? I love your thoughts.
Sometimes if we think we know something, we can know it on a particular level. It seems that you can run into knowledge that can be discerned deeper, with more profound meaning than the. For example, somebody says, "I know mathematics." You might know arithmetic, but how long was it going to take before he learns to do algebra, or trigonometry, or something that's maybe not even linear?
Right.
It's every subject has more depth to it than we give credit for usually. Personally.
You know who would laugh the hardest at somebody saying, I know math? The Sheldon Coopers of the world. Who would think that is a laughable concept that, although he knows math, but there's so much there. Yeah.
I think one of the very first tests we come up with as kids is calculus. Trying to throw a ball at someone across the way from a merry-go-round.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You have to calculate what is actually happening, and then they have a math to prove. That's what they had to do to go to the moon.
Oh, that's
To
right.
go anywhere.
Slingshot out there. That's interesting.
Speaking of math, it's really interesting the difference in where you're from, how you assimilate information. And, people, they say in Asia, China, Japan, whatever, have more of an affinity to be able to learn math. And I wondered what that meant until my daughter was in the 7th and 8th grade in China. And in the 8th grade, they had algebra, they had elements of trigonometry. They had things that we don't even begin to look at until you're a junior or senior in high school. And I wondered why they did that. And I was told that it wasn't so much to learn a specific thing, as to open your mind. Open your mind to learning in ways you wouldn't otherwise think of doing.
Yeah.
It's like learning a language when you're young. You can do it when you're little because it's almost automatic. But as you get older, it's more difficult.
Hola, como está usted, senor?
But anyway, I thought for math, especially since it came up, I thought it was really interesting how being able to open your mind at a young age to looking at things differently than the way you might otherwise look. And I thought that was really an interesting thing for kids that were 12, 13, 14 years old.
Become curious and a problem solver, and then the lesser stuff seems so easy. Yeah.
It just seems how our minds are so able to calculate these things too. Where did that come from? I mean, just throwing a football in a football game. They're predicting the location, and they're throwing to that location.
When the person's in motion.
Yeah, and so where and what kind of math is he using inside of his head to create that issue or that time period?
And thinking, I don't know trigonometry, but I can find my receiver every time.
Yeah, calculus is everything we do is calculus. Yeah. It's what we are in a sense.
Elby has a thought over here. Thank you for that too, Jerry. That's great.
So a few years ago, I read a series of books called The Reading Cedar. And in one of her books, there's 9 books. In one of the books, she has it's a Russian recluse named Anastasia is what the books are about, and the things that she has developed. And she has a school system in there, and I guess the Russians in quite a few places in Russia have adopted her system where they don't have any teachers, they have advisors. And the kids, I believe they live at the school. If not, they come from the villages. But they build buildings, they plant crops, they sell things, they make money. But everything they do is based on functionality. So they're learning the topics, and the older kids are finding how to do it, and they're telling the younger ones, so they're teaching each other, and they're all working together as a community they learn the skills because they need them to know how to make the building correct. And they have advisors that come in when they get stumped that help them and give them guidance or show them where to look for the answers and that kind of thing. But it's all run by the students. And they have been incredibly successful because the kids are looking for things that are meaningful to them. They're using the skills that they're learning. So they're not just sitting in a classroom learning a bunch of stuff that they're not applying. And it's a pretty amazing system.
It sounds, I love that and I fear that because I also look at Missouri and the United States where there's this thinking that if it can't apply it, can't get a job doing it, you shouldn't learn it, shouldn't spend our money on teaching that stuff. And applying things I think is beautiful way to learn and half of the way to learn. There are also these heady ideas that are worth kind of mulling over and boy, have you seen the news where they mock like research that's being done and who cares about mice doing this I care. I care about all that stuff. I'm really fascinated by it. And I'm glad people do because that's how we grow as a society. You have a thought, Brendan?
Yes, back in the 80s, I went to work for a farm machinery dealership, and the shop foreman told me that I was better educated than the people that went through to an institution to learn how to be a farm machinery mechanic. And he said, I think that, and I got all my training from on the job training.
Yeah.
And I think that certain technical fields on the job training is better than going to an institution.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful paradox that Elby's talking about the being able to apply what you learn versus what I'm talking about being able to like think philosophically and have just the right to pursue the happiness of the heady idea, right? Wouldn't it be lovely if we all just respected everybody's path? You know what I mean? Like,
And
there are lots of ways to learn. And
And
I'll bet you suffered some disrespect because
Yeah.
you didn't go to those places. And that's wrong.
And I like your topic on a lifetime of learning because I come from a Free Will Baptist religion.
Yeah.
And come to Unity, and I find out that a lot of stuff I learned in the Free Will Baptist religion does not apply to New Thought teaching. And a lifetime of learning is, I feel like that if you quit learning, it is time for them to throw dirt in your face and put you in the ground, because I think that you should be constantly learning
You gotta
your entire lifetime. Just like Charles and Myrtle,
Yeah.
that was their philosophy too.
Well, it's called New Thought. It's not called like new stuff you receive that you're supposed to memorize. We're supposed to think in this endeavor that we're all in. And even just this room, you can hear people saying, I'm learning this, I'm learning that, this excites me, here's an idea I have. And that's kind of part of our whole culture here. Yeah, Jared.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think validation is probably one of the most important things we can do for each other, is that there's nobody in this room that's not perfect. They're just perfectly them. And just as long as you're perfectly you, what more do you need to prove to? And the validation is something that we all want.
That's true.
We all need to know that this is who we are. And so that's why I like what you said, that we need more of it.
We tend to think of people as types that we get, but not as unique spirits. Yeah.
I was going to say, the thing about lifetime learning is it's like the
our thoughts are first on. How can you not be learning?
We
You're
are always
breathing. You may not be learning what you want, but how can you not be continually responding to stimuli that's coming in?
That's a great point. I think I saw a hand up. Jerry Elby has a thought over here. And I love Elby's thoughts more than most things.
I was talking to somebody this week and I was given a pair of, I thought, sunglasses, but they were different than sunglasses. And I ended up leaving them on the hood of my car and they got smushed. But, and the person that gave them to me was kind of not happy about it. And I thought about that and I ordered some glasses that I thought would be similar and they're not the same. But a few years ago, I had a friend that bought at a police auction some night vision glasses. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever looked through night vision glasses, but they are amazing. You can stand and a block away, look at trees and see the individual leaves with night vision glasses. And they may be the binocular ones, but I mean, you can see at night. And so I was telling her about this, and this thought occurred to me that I think how they developed those is they looked at birds or animals that that hunt at night, and they looked at their eyes and figured out what configuration their eye lenses were made from, and they made lenses that were the same lenses as an animal that was developed to be able to see at night. And I think that's how they got night vision glasses. But I mean, that would be a logical way to me. And it just occurred to me while I was talking to her that that's probably what they had done, because the owls and birds that prey at night can see a mouse in the dark from way, way high in the sky and just swoop down and get it, because they have that configuration in their lenses in their eyes. And so things that we would never think about, that scientists go looking for, and then we find out, oh my gosh, that probably is how they applied that and probably how they developed that. I'm not sure, but that's what occurred to me, and I'm like, that it's logical. So there are so many things that we don't think about, but somebody does. Somebody stays up late at night figuring these things out, and some of them are really ingenious.
You know what I'm mourn a little bit is, I remember when I was little, being in the back of a car on a road trip and just looking out the window and thinking my thoughts and watching things go by, maybe looking for wildlife and playing the game where you try to spot this or that. Just really observing and taking in the world in a different way. And now I think most people have that mitigated by technology. So there's entertainment around you. You don't have to sit and noodle. And I use it too. I'm not judging people, but I think something's really lost when you don't just get to noodle. You know what I mean? That's a learning time. And a lot of ideas come from that. Yeah.
It's hard to overestimate the value of learning, continuous learning. But there's another level to this understanding, and that is the application of the learning according to wisdom. You can learn and learn and learn and learn facts and put things together and even invent things. But unless they're used wisely, it's a totally different echelon of existence that should not be overlooked.
Yeah. And those are two unity powers, wisdom and understanding. Yeah.
Well, nature teaches all things to adapt or die. And I think that's an important concept when you think of how how everything in nature changes. It's a basic fact that you either change and become more acclimated to your environment, or you cease to exist. And I think that's inherent in anything that you see or find throughout nature. It's just a part of who we are, to continue to respond, to grow, to change, to assimilate, to become more aware of our environment. Because if we fail to do that, then we do so at our own peril.
It's an adaptation when it's 100 degrees out to wear very little clothes, but if we don't adapt back into a parka for when it's 20 below, then we die. Yeah, that's an excellent point. You've got to take in new information and adapt to it. Change your ways. Nature will make an animal grow an extra layer of fur, but we gotta put on a coat. That's how we adapt. So there's this notion, I've heard that before, like, I know all that, but have we understood it yet? That's kind of the key point. Unity's power of understanding, one of the 12 powers, as I mentioned, it's described as the capacity to know, to apprehend, connects understanding with further questions, right? And the figure that we associate with that power, because each power has a color and apostle and I don't know what else, a candle that Dee lights in front of the room. Thomas, doubting Thomas. Remember, he's the one who wanted to see Jesus's nail wounds and put his finger in it. And I absolutely love Thomas, who we associate with understanding. He wasn't afraid to ask questions, and he wanted to know for himself. And I'm a journalist, a skeptic professionally, and I'd be fingering those handholds myself, I have to say. And who wouldn't? How many of you see this guy who claims to be Jesus and you know he was nailed to a cross? How many of you would want proof? Yeah, we're smart people. We're accustomed to shysters and scam artists, and we want to see that proof somehow. So Thomas, very natural actions there. And I understand them in a way that I don't understand every figure. Yeah.
We have proof. The shroud.
Yeah. If you, I know you believe deeply in that.
I have no choice because it's scientific. Either that or whoever they stuck in that cloth in the first century was a man who had been crucified.
Yeah. Which was a common way to execute people. Yeah. So, doubting, not a character defect. It's a learner. Somebody who does not want secondhand spirituality, but somebody who wants to encounter truth directly. Finger in the hole. So that's a unity idea. Don't believe it just because somebody tells you it's true. You gotta experience it, test it in your own life. It's not disrespectful to tradition. I'm preaching to the choir, but that's how our tradition stays alive. So what's something here in the room you once believed that you no longer believe? Anybody have something like that? And what I'm interested in is what made you change. Something you used to believe that you no longer believe. Yeah.
I had a UFO experience in Arizona.
And you didn't believe in them before.
It wasn't even a thought. It had never been brought up to me. I had never read about it. Didn't even understand it. At the same time, whenever I had the experience, it made me rethink everything that I had ever learned. Yeah.
So you, to change, you couldn't just consider all the options and choose the best. You had to be smacked in the face by an alien.
I was going up a canyon, and how at that time Star Trek had just come out. They would lock onto something and keep with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going, well, we're going to find out about this, whatever it is. And I was down to 4 or 5 miles an hour, and it wasn't maybe 100 yards away from me. And they just followed me up this canyon 30 minutes. When it took off, I mean,
I wanted to
it
figure
was
this
just
out.
like, it took off.
Jerry, I want to figure you out too.
Yeah, someday that'll be the deal.
I think you might be the
And
key.
I'll appreciate a description. I would like that.
You are an interesting case study, and that's why I love talking to you. I see why you were chosen. LB has a thought.
So I took an avatar course, basically so I could find out what kind of a cult my son was in, so I could maybe get him out of it. And I went for a weekend and took the introduction, and they didn't preach any religion or anything. They just gave you exercises that made you think. Like, take a walk for 15 minutes and think of something small and something large. And we were at Bettina Clemens' house, and her husband at the time was an English gardener, and so she had these flowers that had big petals and flowers that had little tiny petals. And you're watching an ant crawl up, and you're going, well, to the ant, that little flower is big. But when you look at the big one, so you start thinking and think of something near and something far. Well, you could see across the Ozarks, she had a mowed meadow, and you could see, and that would be, if you were walking, the end of the meadow would be a long way. But if you're flying or in the car, then maybe over there would be. And so you think about, well, what do I think? And then we did some other exercises, and that's basically what we did for the weekend. And so I ended up taking the course. And what Avatar says is it's a 9-day course that the end result is a source being. And, what does that mean? Well, the guy that designed it spent 6 weeks in a deprivation tank getting rid of all the indoctrination that he had taken on all of his life. And after 6 weeks.
In the tank.
Yeah, every day. His wife would get home and knock on the tank, Harry, I'm home. And she said there were salt trails to the bathroom and to the refrigerator. And so after 6 weeks, she gets home, she gets knocks on the tank, and she says, Harry, I'm home. And he says, Avra, I am. And she's like, yeah, that's okay, Harry. And he says, no. He says, I was all of these thoughts and things that had been programmed into me, but he says, I just am. Well, she didn't understand. And they knew that something had changed about him, but they didn't know what. And when you come down to it and you read Ken Wilber, what happened to him was he had a Satori experience. And all the saints and sages down through eternity, down through all history, have talked about that's what Siddhartha had. That's what, Buddha had, was a Satori experience. And so he designed this so that you would have a Satori experience.
How do you
Satori, I asked Google with voice and it comes up with it. Satori.
Right.
And it means it's stripping away to where you make a connection with source. So on the Avatar course, I had a lot of problems with some of the stuff that they were doing, because I'm looking at God judging me for being there and looking at the exercises, and I ended up having this experience that when you make that connection, it's God, and it's more real than anything that's out here, and you can't ever go back to sleep once you wake up. It's so much a part of you. And once I had that experience, it's like, God isn't Jesus. God isn't some guy in the sky. God isn't, this is what God is, and it's everything. And you have that connection that you're connected to everything, and you know it, but there's no thought, there's just an experience. And so when I came back, it was like, who do I believe? Where do I go? What do I do with this? And I took a Unity class that was that in the class they talked about the experience of chemicalization. And so what I had was this chemicalization where your brain goes into overload because all of your belief systems have been shattered and fall away, and you don't know who to believe or what to believe, because you know that those people that taught you what you used to believe did it in good faith because that's all they knew. So they aren't wrong, but who has the truth? And so it took me a while to reconstruct, and basically it was like listening to Abraham, that I was able to rebuild my world. But that was the time, that was when I first came to Springfield and came to Unity, and it put things back together. So my whole thinking about how the universe works and who God was completely shifted by that experience.
You're untethered.
Yeah.
Nothing to hang on to.
And then, I was able to put it back together and realize how this world works. I still don't always demonstrate. I know how it works, but I can't always get to the point where I can demonstrate it because I still have a lot of beliefs floating in there that I have not. I didn't spend 6 weeks in a deprivation tank. So I still have all these beliefs floating in there that when you do something, they come up and you're going, oh. And then you look at it and say, oh, that's not true. So, but it gives you a foundation sort of to experience things from.
I think Dan has an idea.
Maybe we should have a class on the Satori experience.
Yeah. You want to teach it?
I'd love to.
How's 2 weeks from now?
That's a short time to prepare, but yeah. But
Okay.
I think that is kind of the next step. I'm really glad to see so many people here today. This is amazing.
Yeah, this is amazing.
I'm very, all here to see you.
They got
but,
their weeks mixed up.
But anyway, I think it's like the next step. We're all kind of here to unity, of course, but what does that mean as it relates to a universal thought?
We'll get you on the schedule with that, because I think you are the guy. Yes. By the way, let's take a moment here and think. When I come to talk about a topic, I'm the person who coordinates these classes, right? But when I come to talk about a topic on my own, where does it start? Well, I'm curious. I have 32 pages of outline here, and I just skipped through Buddhism entirely because we don't have time. But I'm so curious. I have so many things I'd like to ask you about. That's what I'm actually doing here, is asking you guys for some wisdom on these topics. And that's the starting point. What do I want to know? Lifetime learning. So I kind of just ask you, if you were to teach a class, one of these classes, what would you teach? Brenda, what would you teach? It could be anything. You could teach us to rebuild an engine. You can teach us, a spiritual concept. But what would you teach, Brenda?
I would teach that
Maybe something you're curious
about diversity and inclusion of the LGBTQ community.
That would be a great class. Who would come to that? I'd come to that. Because here we've got some lived experience that Brenda is willing to share about just her life as a trans woman, and we can all learn so much from that. So even another trans woman could learn from Brenda's experience as a trans woman. Yeah. What would you teach?
I have a little diagram I found in the book years ago.
Yeah.
And I got so excited about it, I don't think I read the rest of the book. And it kind of explains how the mind works.
Yeah.
Yeah, the simple visual format. Yeah, that's what I would. That's what I would.
Put it down.
You think I'm not writing this down? I just wrote it down. Peter's on the chart.
You're next. You're on the list.
All right, Donna, what's it going to be?
Please don't put me on the list.
Only his sister could do that.
Right.
See?
So I woke up thinking, how could we incorporate Unity of Springfield on college campuses?
Yeah.
Because growing up, you know, at the different universities, the different churches around, they would have something on the college campus. And since I'm pretty new to the Unity thought, thanks to my sister, who every Sunday would tell me to get on to watch. So I'm still learning about the new thought.
Get your ass on and watch.
Yeah. Because I grew up in the Methodist church, and I mean, I was really deep into everything that I was taught Methodist and all that. So I would question, like, hey, you know, I never knew about Unity. And so I was like, is this going to go against what I know? And luckily, I have a friend who knew some things, and then my sister. And so then I was just thinking, how can we take Unity more out into the community of people who are of the younger population?
Hugs by the Bears.
What?
Hugs by the Bears.
Hugs by the Bear.
Hugs by the Bear.
Mary Hilsbeck Huber, the pretty white-haired gal, she does big grandma hugs all over town, but especially by the Bear on campus. So, but you know, they have like the Newman Student Center for the Catholics, or it'd be interesting to think about how we can extend our reach. Yeah.
When I teach at the university in China, all girls, they all want to be English teachers, and you know, I tell them that the job of a teacher is to take people to places they wouldn't otherwise go.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important concept, where we start from and where we go and where the ultimate will be, is teaching people to go where they wouldn't go otherwise. And I think that's the value of a good teacher. My idea is that we have a sense of the way things are and they should be and will be, but is that reality as to what is out here? But the ability to think about, that's why the Satori experience is really interesting, because to take people where they wouldn't otherwise go, whatever that means. So they open themselves to the universe, basically, to beyond what they think they know, to a whole new vision of what they might know if they would give themselves a chance.
It's really interesting to think about what you know and what you love to contemplate, right? Because I look around the room and I think there's Susan Dempsey in the back, who knows all about comedy and the healing power of laughter. Wouldn't that be an interesting class to hear her tell us some of the things that she's experienced through bringing smiles to people's faces and the spiritual power of that? Wouldn't you love to hear that class? I just proposed it for her. She didn't raise her hand.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a hearing class, it would be I'm assuming, because I've been in Susan's workshops, that, you know, you would be swimming like a dolphin or quacking like a duck or something like that. Because you don't learn laughter by hearing about it, you learn it by laughing. And she has you think about how you feel, and then you laugh for half an hour at goofy things that you can't help laughing at, and then you feel how you feel like. And so, her workshops are amazing, and that would be cool if she did that.
We're all ready for it, Susan. So
You got drafted.
You know, just 1 second. I took a comedy writing class from a guy, and he asked for, like, from the audience, like, give me a funny fruit. And of course, bananas are funny because they're used in comedy. There's a whole archetype of the funny banana, but people are like, kumquat, that's a funny word. So therefore a funny fruit. And then people are like, apples. No, apples aren't funny. I guess you could have a funny apple experience, but it's not by its nature where the humor is. And he's like, what's a funny disease? And people are like, sciatica, because it has that K sound. That's always a funny sound. Sciatica. And somebody's like, Alzheimer's disease. And everybody just looked at him like, are you nuts? There's nothing funny about Alzheimer's disease. I suppose, like, a person with any condition could do something funny, but on its face, lumbago is funny because it's a funny word. It's not fun to have, but it's a funny word. Sciatica, Alzheimer's disease, right? But there's a whole science to funny, isn't there? So, Susan, you're signed up, okay?
Well,
She's trying to sit in the back. She's like, just leave me alone. Here we are.
Really, I'm trying to take it easy back here.
I know.
The laughter workshop is experiential. It's not about the kind of stuff you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because when you come, we do nothing but laugh at stuff. So that's okay.
But we can do that here. I'm looking at Wendy working on a quilt right now, thinking, could Wendy teach us something about craft and the like spiritual element of creating? Could Don, through his poetry, teach us something about how poetry makes you see differently? I think they could. And I think it would be more fun than hearing a lecture, don't you think so? To just sit and like experience and do something a little different. That's kind of what I'd like to do. So afterwards, if you're interested in being a lifelong learner, sharing your lifelong learning with the group, you see me, I'll put you on the list because we kind of have the usual suspects over and over, don't we? John and Dan and Karen and yeah, so we gotta mix things up. Haven't had you for a while, Jerry. It's time.
Oh, I just wanted to say what you were saying about the students. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a Unity class there, or somebody there that could answer questions. But at the same time, we're always drawn to where we need to be. And at their age, they basically are always searching anyway.
Right.
They just don't. So anyway, I have to agree. I think we should have a spot at the university, but it's like not a spot where you're going out and dragging people in by the doors to their own. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm about to wrap up.
Jolene does stuff at Missouri State all the time, and she would be a good candidate,
Jolynn.
yeah,
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
campus ministry for a Unity campus ministry. I think that, and with the input that she gives out at the Course of Miracles meetings on Monday night, her wisdom and spirit would be great for that.
And the trick is, you can't have a bunch of 50-year-olds go to campus and be like, oh, it's around 12 hours, right? You gotta get back to starting it at MSU and see if there's energy there for them to do something, right? Kids don't want to hear from, like, they don't want to be told all this stuff we've learned. That's what this whole talk is about. It's experiential, they gotta learn it themselves. But they also don't naturally pop up with what you're talking about either. So, you have a thought?
Not me.
Oh, I think. Okay, you guys, I'm on page 5 of my 32 pages of notes, so let's get through the rest of this.
7 minutes.
No, we gotta get through this quick, okay? Buckle in. But not really, because I'm just gonna end it here with no wrap up, no conclusion. We have some thoughts to get us through the week before our next speaker, so I think we're complete. And I've got the ingredients for several more talks. Unless you want me to get through all the remaining.
That's fun.
27. Okay. Okay. Well, let's do the announcements then, shall we? Okay. Everyone's invited this evening for meditation at 6. It's truly wonderful. I suggest you try it if you haven't. Next Sunday, Marlene Bricker is our guest speaker. And I don't know her topic, but she's been here many times. Join us next Sunday morning at 9:15 for the next class by John back there, Life of the Beloved. It's opportunity to deepen our understanding of Unity principles and say a bunch of BS, stuff like that. Only when John does it, it's not BS. When I do it, come on, it's BS. I like BS.
You did perfect.
I like BS.
Yeah.
So, but actually, true words, John is worth hearing. So
We all
we all are. That's Jerry's philosophy, and I think he's on to something. We're accepting donations for our next yard sale, September 11th and 12th. I just brought in a bunch of toys that I guess my teenagers won't be needing anymore. You can drop off things anytime the church is open. And we need volunteers to help with it, setting up, cleaning, selling, things like that. There's a connection table out there where you can sign up.
Telling jokes.
Telling
jokes.
Yeah. By the way, you don't have to come to Unity for like months and months to do this. We welcome everybody to like get involved from day one on whatever you're interested in. Yeah.
I would just like to say that the couple of years that I come in,
Give you this.
the couple of years that I come and help with yard sale, you get to visit and know your Unity people a lot better by doing the yard sale volunteering. It's a good way to get to know each other.
You know, I coordinated it one year when I was new, and I had this list of people. You should call Susan. You should call this person, that person. It's like, I don't actually know who that is. So I don't recommend coordinating it until you've been here like a year, but coming to the yard sale, it is the best way when you're working side by side with people. You can really make some friends.
The whole week before.
And the whole week before. Used to be pricing, now it's making things look nice. There's a youth car wash fundraiser Saturday the 29th, 11 to 2. So bring your car by with the love offering, whatever feels right to you. We have community through music, outdoor concert. These are amazing things. The talent locally is beyond belief. And August 29th also, same day as the car wash, 7 p.m. The performers are Jonathan King, Brianna Schultz, and Frankie C. Outside, bring your chairs, and they usually have hot dogs and stuff. Daniel Namod concert, September 4th at 7 o'clock. Tickets are on sale for $20. That is a deal. You should explore that. Maybe you don't even know who Daniel Namod is, but he's pretty remarkable, and he's very much worth seeing. So
It is well worth your time and money to come to Daniel's concert.
Yeah, the stuff between the songs is just as valuable as the songs themselves. Yeah.
I think you should speak every Sunday. I've never seen this many people in 10 years, at this time.
Oh, you know.
They're coming to see you, this many
That
people.
is so nice.
You should, since you're in charge.
I challenge you to receive that right now and not bat it away.
Well, thank you. That's lovely. I'm mentally batting away thinking, these people didn't know I was speaking this morning, but.
And they voluntarily came.
So 2 people.
You're perfect.
Thank you. Clearly, I'll take it.
Just saying, yes, take it all.
Rachel put it on the sister circle.
I saw
So all the
that.
sisters knew that you were coming.
Well, I do appreciate that.
They voluntarily came.
Okay, 2 more announcements. My sister was forced to be my ride. Registration, she's not a 9:15 person. She's like a 2 p.m. person. Registration is open for our community kids adventure. It's called Flower Power, ages 5 through 12. It's going to be really fun. We're going to focus on the Unity 12 powers. God is calling. Tell me to take your kids. That's okay. I do that all the time. So it's free, and we feed them, and you get a little time off for good behavior as a parent. So you can just drop those suckers off, and we'll take care of them. There's also September 26th a music and art festival, and we need artists to set up. And Booth spaces are $10. I think that's it, unless anybody here has something for the good of the order.